months. That golden rule, only eat oysters raw when they come from, if there's an R in the month. So like December, January, February, there's an R in the month, you can definitely eat oysters raw then. In the summer months, they tend to get, because the water is a little bit warmer, the oyster is a little mushy, so you don't really want to eat them raw. But right now, we got these beautiful raw oysters, and we're going to make this mignonette. So, a little bit of rice wine vinegar here. Again, if you can't get rice wine vinegar, you could use the classic red wine vinegar. That would be fine. We got the rice wine vinegar. We're going to add a quarter cup of shallots. This is the just minced shallots. We're going to add half a cup of fennel, diced, really fine diced fennel. We're actually going to add a little spice. We're going to add a little bit of ground coriander. Now this coriander has been ground really fine, but right before we grounded it though, we actually toasted it. Because we're serving it raw, you want to toast it, and that releases the oil of the coriander. And this is it. It's really nice and light. Just give it a quick taste. Try it out. And again, mignonette, it's very tart. I mean, you have that half a cup of rice wine vinegar, so it's really going to add a tartness to these. And all you do, here we have some of those kumamotos, like I said, just put a little spoonful of all on each one of these. And we're actually going to hit this with a little bit of Tabasco. Now, you might say, why Tabasco? Is that going to really hurt this oyster? Well, again, raw oyster plain is by far the cleanest way to eat an oyster, but since we are dressing these up, upgrading them, a little Tabasco will be a nice little flavor to offset the sweetness of the fennel. So, like that, and then I'm not talking about huge amounts of Tabasco, by the way. I'm talking about one hit per oyster, just like that. And this is a great presentation. If you're at a party, just put them in a thing of ice like this, or you can do crushed ice, use your RoboCoupe and crushed ice, or you could even put them on like rock salt so they don't move around. Because one of the best things, like, come to this board, you see this? You see that liquid? That's called oyster liqueur, and that's really a lot of the flavor of the oyster is in that liqueur. So you really want to make sure when you serve these that your oysters don't tip over and the liqueur kind of falls out. Now, cold oysters are great, and I love cold, fresh, raw oysters. But in the summer months, they can get a little flabby, and they really aren't at their prime. So what do you got to do with them? You got to cook them. And if you stick around, I'm going to show you a very cool way of cooking some oysters. Welcome back. Since oysters do get mushy in the summer months, especially down south, the folks in New Orleans, like my friend Emerald, they figured out how to deal with them by cooking them. I'm sure you're familiar with Oysters Rockefeller. We actually have a setup here. This is what goes in traditional Oysters Rockefeller. We're going to do a variation of it, which I'm going to get to in a sec. But traditional Oysters Rockefeller have spinach, breadcrumbs, a little bit of hot sauce, and some butter, and they kind of mix all this up, put it on top of an oyster, and then some people even put bacon to give a little smokiness, and then they're baked in the oven. Now, my oysters we're actually calling Oysters Tsai. Now, again, this is not named after me. It's actually, I'm doing a little parody. This is named after a guy named Jerry Tsai, who is reputed to be the Rockefeller of Asia. He lives in Hong Kong. So that's how we came up with that name. Now, where did this original Oysters Rockefeller come from? There was an old chef, Jules Acciatori, and he was at Antoine's in New Orleans. This is early. This is pre-1900, 1899, and he apparently was the first one that actually took watercress, not spinach, to make the first Oysters Rockefeller. Let's go and get started on my version. What we're going to do is, in this pan here, we have already starting to cook. We have some Thai bird chilies and just a little bit of garlic that's been cooked. You see how it's already nice and brown? Just got to get that going. We're going to add to this, we're actually going to cook spinach and basil. This is 1 cup of spinach and 1 cup of basil leaves. Now, those are just regular, you can use regular sweet basil, the Italian basils, or you can use the Thai basil, which has that anise quality to it. See how this is? You got to get this thing cooking. And what we're going to do is a little salt and pepper. Then we're going to deglaze it with 2 things. We're going to deglaze it with a little bit of fish sauce, 1 tablespoon. Now this is the fish sauce I'm using. This is a 3-crab fish sauce. Again, by far the best fish sauce in the world. And then we're going to use a little bit of acid, just a 1 tablespoon of fresh lime juice. So what you need to do is you got to cook it till it gets really nice and soft. And then we're actually going to puree this. I'm going to make a puree of this stuff in a food processor And then we're going to put it on top of some fresh oysters. So just move it around. You don't have to cook it that much. You want to maintain the green color, right? You just got to cook it nice so it really shrinks up. You see how it's really shrunk down? Got a food processor here. That's all you really need. We're going to add actually a little bit of cream, a little bit of heavy cream. So instead of the traditional butter, we're actually using cream. We have a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. That goes in. Then we're going to just puree this. This is going to be a very loose type of topping. It will come together because we're going to put some Japanese breadcrumb. They're called panko. Now, I've already seasoned. I'm going to try it because I don't know if it's been seasoned enough. Let's give this a little try here. Well, just needs a little bit. Again, the oyster has, of course, natural salt in it coming from the sea. So you really don't want to over-salt this mixture. Alrighty, this is going to be done. Beautiful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pour this back in the can that we had the cream. See how loose that is? It's nice and loose, and this will, of course, when you bake them in the oven, it's going to solidify a little bit. So now we have these. This is what I'm talking about, Japanese breadcrumb. These are called panko. Now panko is a special type of bread they use in Japan. I love panko crumbs. You buy them just like this. They're very consistent, and they're really, really buttery. They have a wonderful butteriness to them, which I like. But of course, if you have a restaurant, you have a lot of leftover bread, make your own breadcrumbs. Just dry them in the oven and put them in the Cuisinart. So a nice little spoon on each one. And then you put it right into an oven. You actually broil them. So use the top burner of the oven. You need to broil it, and all you want to do is just warm the oyster. You don't want to cook them all the way through, because cooked oysters all the way through might get a little tough on you. So you just take this panko, good amount. So again, because there's a little bit of oil in these breadcrumbs, they will come out a little crispy and brown. All right? Very simple. You can do everything up to this point if you're doing a party. So you can have things ready to go, and just right as the guests arrive, throw it into the oven, which is exactly what we're going to do. Come on back here. We're going to put these, and again, it's in a broiler. You put them up on the top because the broiler's up top. And I'm going to just pull it. So again, you just cook them until they're really nice and brown. And this is what you end up with. Look at those, and these are ready to go. Great way to serve them is you put them on a plate with some rock salt, garnish with a little bit of like cilantro, any type of herb, and just be careful. The shells get really hot. So you know what? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get started on another type of cooked oyster dish. These are going to be dipped in a cornmeal batter and deep fried. Don't go away. One of my favorites. Welcome back. I'm about to make some hot oyster fritters in a polenta batter. But first I need to make some sauce that's going to bring them all together. And that's actually going to be made with 3 vinegars. And we're going to toss that with an arugula to make this beautiful arugula salad. Let's get this vinaigrette going first. It's really more of an emulsion than a vinaigrette. And what we're going to do is put 3 vinegars. We've got a cup of balsamic vinegar. That, of course, is the Italian vinegar. We're going to put a cup of the rice wine vinegar. This, again, is the vinegar that you would use to make sushi, if you're making the su, as it's called. And then ½ a cup of the Chinese vinegar. This is the black, sweet Chinese vinegar that has that little inherent 5-spice in the background. And you actually bring this to a simmer. You boil it very slowly, and you end up with this. This is a full 80% reduction. And you see how thick that is? Nice and syrupy. That's what you need to make this emulsion. What we're going to use, got this nice blender cup, put a little bit of chopped shallots. All right, so there's 1 tablespoon of chopped shallots. And we're going to take this syrup, as we're calling it, tri-vinegar syrup. That goes into the blender cup. Then we're going to actually lift this whole thing with some oil. So you got to, again, put the cover on. Be careful. It's a little bit warm. Now, when I say lift or emulsify, it means, see how slowly I'm going? Go real slow with the oil. Like when you lift egg whites, here you want to go slow. When you make a mayonnaise, same thing. You go slow with the oil. And you're going to end up with an emulsion, which is, let me stop it halfway so you can really see what I'm talking about. See all that? It's hard for you guys to see this, but see how it's nice and thick, it's thickened up? That's beautiful. The reason you actually even add any oil is if you do the vinegar straight, it's too strong. You need to cut it down a little bit. Reason being, it's not too strong by itself, but it's too strong to toss with some arugula. All right, so I know this is really noisy here for you guys, but put that in. And that's done. We're going to use this and toss in a salad, but let that sit. Let's get to this fritter. Now this is a polenta-based fritter, so this is kind of like the play off of hush puppies like I used to have down south, but we're throwing in a whole bunch of other things. What we have is, this is the polenta, all right, so we have polenta goes straight in. It's a good amount of polenta. It's 2 cups of polenta. You got 4 eggs, all right, so 4 eggs go in. You have milk. You have 2 cups of milk. This is 2% milk. Straight in. Then you just get a whisk. Let me grab a whisk. I have this one here. Mix that in well. Doesn't matter. It's not really going to get lumpy because it's fine polenta. It's really loose right now. You see that? I'm going to add a little bit of oil, a little bit of canola oil. It's going to add some richness to this batter. All right. See how that's going there? We're going to add a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to add some fresh corn. If you don't have fresh corn, you can add frozen corn. The problem with frozen corn, though, is going to leach some water, so that it actually might explode and pop on you. Now we're going to add a little bit of spice. We have some 2 minced serrano chilies and 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. The brown sugar adds, besides just sweetness, it helps it actually caramelize. Then we're going to add a little bit of scallions. That's 1 bunch of scallions. That gets mixed in. Now you see how that already got thicker? That got thicker because the polenta is starting to absorb all of that milk. And then the last thing you need to do is you take some egg whites, which we have here. And you actually take the egg whites and you fold them in. So what does that mean? Folding in is you take the egg whites, go very slowly. Okay, you can put them all in at once, but you don't use the whisk anymore. All right, the whisk goes bye-bye. And you take a spatula and you kind of fold it in. You see what I'm doing here? And it really makes this batter a lot lighter. And again, waste not, want not. We had 4 eggs. The egg yolks go first. And then, of course, the 4 egg whites get mixed in like this. And this batter's ready to go. I'm going to put just a touch of salt and pepper because, again, you want to have a little salt on the outside when you fry them up. So you really don't want that much salt and pepper. Salt, just a little bit. Pepper. And this is ready to go. I have a fryer right here. It's 375 degrees. I have some really nice fresh oysters. What I need to do is show you how you actually, the trick here is first you need to take oysters and you actually need to dredge them in a little flour. The reason you do that is these oysters, if you put them straight into this batter, it's not going to stick so well. So you see that? You got to flour them first and then you put them like this. A little bit of flour into this batter. Now I'm going to pop these in. I'm using my fingers. You know what? That's fine because my hands are clean. And you drop them in to the fryer. All right? Try not to get your fingers, obviously, in the oil. Now, these things are going to just fry it really nicely. They're actually going to take about, anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes, depending on, sometimes your fryer or your pot of oil may be a little too hot. You don't need to cook the oysters super hot in the middle. You just really want to bring them up to temperature. Look at those beauties. You know what? We're going to take a quick break while these things fry up. When we come back, I'm going to take this vinegar emulsion that we made, toss it with some arugula salad, and finish this whole dish. So please stay with me. Welcome back. Look at these beautiful things. Isn't that great? They fry really nice and crisp. Remember, I didn't put too much salt, so we're going to just a touch. It's key when you fry anything like potato chips or whatnot, salt it while there's still a little bit of oil. That's how the salt sticks to it. All right, let's finish this. This is the emulsion we made. And again, an emulsion is when something comes together like this. Now, some vinaigrettes, you do emulsify, and if you use your blender or one of those hand blenders, you'll get an emulsification. Otherwise, there's other vinaigrettes, and sometimes I love them because they look nicer on a plate, or they're broken vinaigrettes. So you don't use a machine, you don't whisk them as quickly. If you use just a fork, like an oil and vinegar, that's not going to emulsify. Use a fork. We're going to use this to do 2 things. Just toss this arugula, and then I'm just going to garnish the plate a little bit. And it's nice that you emulsify because obviously it stays together. All right, so that's that. Toss this arugula salad. Let me get just a pinch of salt. And this dish is basically done. cracked black pepper, as always, a little bit. Arugula has a really nice bitter green, and that's going to really contrast nicely with these fritters, because again, these fritters are pretty rich. And this is a family style, and I'm just going to put a big old pile of these fritters right on the plate. Isn't that nice? This is a done dish. Let's go over here. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of wines, all right? Let's review quickly. We have the raw oysters with my version of mignonette. That's got fennel and coriander. Then we have Oysters Thai, which is the spinach Thai basil, baked in the oven, great for the summer months. And then we have these beautiful fritters. Now, I got two things here. I got some champagne. Champagne, of course, is going to cut nicely through the oiliness and the richness of the fritters. Champagne and oysters is like a classic combination, as is this. This is a muscadet sur lis, which means it's left on the lees, which are, when you make wine, there's lees. And this is also, in France, the classic combination with oysters and muscadet. Both are going to go great. You know, that's all we have time for today. If you want any of these recipes or mail order sources, check out our website. It's all there. I'm Ming Tsai. Thanks for watching. Join me again next time when East meets West.
If you would like a copy of the recipes you've just seen, please send us $4 for postage and handling to the address on the screen. You can also get the recipes for free when you visit our website at foodtv.com or AOL keyword food.
If you would like to be in the Ready, Set, Cook studio audience and possibly be a contestant on the show, call 212-899-5678 for information. That's 212-899-5678.